Fuck. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Draw Step, and today we finally did it. A while ago when Final Fantasy first came out, I dropped a video talking about the commanders that I was most excited to build decks around, and I finally built one of them, the one that I was most excited about making, Hope Estheim. Happened to pull a Surge foil in one of my pack openings, and I was like, you know what? I got it. I gotta build it. And this commander is incredibly unique from the standpoint that you're working in white and blue, so you're working with the white and blue colors, but this commander, as you can see, says at the beginning of your end step, each opponent mills X cards, where X the amount of life you gain this turn. White is not a color you normally see milling cards. It's, in fact, I'm pretty sure this is the first time where a white card is doing mill. So I think that is a really fun, different approach to the mill strategy, especially making it based around life, which white is good at doing. So this is a unique type of deck, and we have multiple different ways of winning, both through mill and through the life game. Let's get into it. All right. First and foremost, as far as our ramp goes, we got pretty simple, nothing crazy. Mind Stone, you know what it does. Arcane Signet, you know what it does. And of course, a Soul Ring, because every deck should have a Soul Ring. From there, once we are up and running, we have a couple different value pieces, not just value pieces, but also ways of gaining ourselves life. We have Sunscorch Regent, a big old guy, 5 mana for a 4/3, but whenever an opponent casts a spell, you get put a 1/1 counter on it, and you gain 1 life. That's nice. It's going to become a giant threat over time and gain you life. Aerith Gainsborough, or Aerith, I don't know, however you pronounce that. It's a 2/2 with Lifelink, and whenever you gain life, you get put a 1/1 counter on Aerith Gainsborough, and when it dies, put X 1/1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is a number of +1/+1 counters on it. The Lifelink part is really great because it's going to be getting bigger, getting you more life over time, and even if you do lose it, if your opponents do take it out, you're boosting your army. That is exceptional. Hidden Dragon Slayer, 2 mana for a 2/1 with Lifelink, but also you can do the whole Megamorph thing, and if it's turn face up, you get to destroy a creature with power 4 or greater, so that's nice. I like cards which are doing multiple things with that destruction, but also the life gain. A piece that allow you to get extra value off of all the life gain you're going to be doing. We have Will, Scion of Peace. It is a 2/4, with Vigilance, and you can tap it, and spells you cast this turn that are white and or blue cost X less to cast, where X the amount of life you gain this turn, activate only as a sorcery. This can be a busted card in and of itself if you want to use it as a commander. I know there's some like crazy combos and stuff you can do. We're not getting that crazy with it, but with the amount of life that you're going to be gaining on your turn, you will be able to then play a lot of your expensive spells for free quite often because of that card. So that has a tremendous amount of value there. Why Shotel Rule? I'm sure there's probably some Final Fantasy player listening to me pronounce these right now and despising it, but here we are. This card, 6 mana, but it's a 3/5, and it says at the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control and return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Nice little blank effect. Then if it's the first end step of your turn, there's an additional end step after this. This is great with our commander because you're getting that trigger twice then, allowing you to mill even more cards from your opponents. Multiple end steps. I know there's one other creature from, what was it, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, that did manipulation of end steps, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, not the colors that we need. So this is really nice. The Wyshola, being able to slot her into this deck. You're going to get a lot of value out of that. Rest in Peace, 2 mana. The big thing with this says if a card or token will be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. It does mean that you won't be able to manipulate your graveyard. However, with all the cards that you're milling out from your opponents, making sure that they can't get access or value out of that, they're just gone. Shabara's the Sky Shark. Main thing to note here is whenever you draw a card, you get put a 1/1 counter on Shabara's, and you gain 1 life. So you're getting that life gain, is becoming a bigger creature. And we have a decent amount of card draw in this deck, so you're getting value there. Minwu, White Mage. We have quite a few Final Fantasy cards in this. It's a 3/3 with Vigilance and Lifelink, and whenever you gain life, you get to put a 1/1 counter on each cleric you control. We really don't have that many clerics in this deck, but that does mean that's putting a 1/1 counter on itself. Triumph of St. Catherine. This is a banger in this deck. It's a 5/5 with lifelink, and whenever it dies, exile it in the top 6 cards of your library in a face-down pile. If you do shuffle that pile, put it back on top of your library. It has Miracle, so you could cast this card for only 2 mana. So it's very hard for your opponents to take that card out, and it's getting you 5 life each turn. So bare minimum, your opponents are going to be milling 5 cards. Living Conundrum. I've been wanting to put this card into a deck for quite a while since it came out in the clue set. It is so unique and flavorful. It's a 2/5 with hexproof, and it says if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, skip that draw step instead. As long as there are no cards in your library, Living Conundrum has base power and toughness 10/10 and has flying and vigilance. So it keeps you from losing the game for having no cards in your library, and it then buffs the hell out of this creature for having no cards. So it's not as powerful as like a Thassa's Oracle, obviously, which will win you the game for having no cards in the library, but it's unique. It is very unique there. All right, we have some protection for ourselves. We have Propaganda, 3 mana for an enchantment that says creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. And basically same thing, Ghostly Prison, creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. So milling obviously is not the most aggro deck, and your opponents will see it coming, so they're going to want to try to attack you. So a little bit of pillow forting to keep yourself safe while you're trying to set up what you're trying to do to win. Being able to deal with our opponents, we have a couple different ways of approaching this. Obviously, we're in blue. We got a lot of counterspells. An offer you can't refuse for 1 blue mana, one of the better counterspells out there. Keep Safe, 2 mana, counter target spell, targets permanent you control, draw a card. The card draw is nice. Negate for 2 mana, counter target non-creature spell. Shadowbringers, white and a blue, it can't be countered, and you get a counter target non-creature spell. Hindering Light, 2 mana, this one works really well with this deck. Counter target spell targets permanent you control, and you get to draw a card, kind of like the Keep Safe. Counterspell, 2 blue, counter target spell, the classic, the OG, and then Flare of Denial, 3 mana, but you can sacrifice a non-token blue creature rather than pay its spell's mana cost, counter target spell. Obviously, that is powerful. You can be completely tapped out and still counter whatever your opponents are doing. Our other way to deal with our opponent's stuff, we have Mughul's Valor, kind of expensive, 5 mana, but it says for each creature you control, create a 1/2 white Mughal creature token with lifelink. That's good. Create a little army for ourselves, which will gain us more life too. And then creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So protect your whole board right there. And then Make a Stand, same thing, but for a lot less mana, 3 mana. Creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn and gain indestructible until end of turn. Which, that indestructibility with either of those, but most realistically, the Make a Stand would pair super well with a Fumigate, which is our other way of dealing with our opponent's stuff, destruction. So Fumigate says destroy all creatures. You gain 1 life for each creature you destroy this way. So if you do something like a Make a Stand, make your board stay indestructible, hit the board with a Fumigate, it's going to take out all of your opponent's stuff, and that life gain. super nice. Going to work well with your commander's ability. You can either then swing through on your opponents or just mill them out with all the life you gained off of at their expense. Lauren of the Third Path, just in cool art, but it says when Lauren of the Third Path enters the battlefield, destroy up to one target artifact or enchantment. That's nice. Have that destruction. Then you can tap it and you and target opponent each draw a card. Requisition Raid. I am a huge fan of these spree spells, being able to pick and choose what you need, but you pay 1 white and then you can either pay 1 and destroy target artifact, 1 destroy target enchantment, 1 put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls, or you can do all of them. So mix and match, choose what works for you. Path to Exile, 1 mana, a classic, 1 mana, and then to exile target creature, and then its controller gets a land card. And then the last, we have Swords to Plowshares, another classic, 1 mana to exile a creature, and then its controller gains life equal to its power. So technically you could do that on yourself if you so chose, and gain yourself some life to trigger your commander's ability. All right. From there, when it comes to some repeatable ways of gaining life, or not repeatable ways, but other ways that we have in this deck to gain life, working with our synergies, because really it comes down to a balance of the life gain versus the milling, because we do want to do a little bit of both here. Authority of the Consuls, 1 mana, creatures your opponents control enter tapped, and whenever a creature an opponent controls enters, you gain 1 life. Yes, the downside to that particular one is that you'll be gaining life on your opponent's turn, so it's not going to trigger Hope's ability, or it's not going to help you, because Hope is only looking at life you gained on your turn. But we do want to get a pretty high life total because we have some other ways of benefiting off of that. I have Caduceus, Staff of Hermes. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. But it says equipped creature has lifelink, so we can put that on some of our bigger creatures that don't naturally have a lifelink and gain ourselves more life. And then it says as long as you have 30 or more life, which we're in Commander, we're starting with 40. We're probably going to hit that. As long as you have 30 or more life, equipped creature gets +5/+5 and has indestructible and prevent all damage that would be dealt to this creature. So that's a huge buff. You could put it on your commander if you want to keep him safe. Or again, like I said, on one of your bigger creatures with that +5/+5 buff, that's going to be gaining you a lot of life. Wall of Reverence, 4 mana. For a 1/6 Defender of Flying, at the beginning of your end step, you may gain life equal to the power of target creature you control. While playtesting this deck, I had like the Skybrizz, the Sky Shark, whatever, the Flying Shark out. And when you gained life, he was getting progressively larger. And then in conjunction with that Wall of Reverence, gaining the life off of it, that was gaining me more and more life over time. So that Wall of Reverence can be a powerhouse in this deck. Quain, Itinerant Meddler. Cheap old guy for white and a blue. You get to tap him, and each player may draw a card, and each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. You're helping out your opponents, but at the end of the day, it's getting you that card draw and the life gain, so you'll be milling them for more in the long run. Kyla's Command, 3 mana. This is nice. So it says choose 2. You can either create a 2/2 colorless construct artifact creature token. Probably never going to do that. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. It gains double strike until end of turn. That could be nice just with the, if it's a creature that has lifelink, gaining that life twice. Search your library for basic plains card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. White doesn't really have a lot of ramp, so that's cool that you can do a land ramp with this card, and then you can also gain 2 life and scry 2. So a lot of options to choose from, a lot of good value that you can get for only 3 mana. On Sarah's Wings, 4 mana for this enchantment. Enchanted creature is legendary, gets +1/+1, has flying, vigilance, and lifelink. So again, like I keep saying, being able to put that on some of the larger creatures, giving them evasion, and that lifelink especially on the creatures, getting more life each turn. Speaking of which, this is probably the strongest, one of the strongest cards in this deck. Celestial Mantle. If you execute this correctly, this could set you up for a very quick game ender. It says, enchanted creature gets +3/+3. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, double its controller's life total. If you get this down early enough when you're still at 40 plus life, and again, with how much life we're gaining, we could be 40, 50, 60 life. Once you do combat damage with that, you double your life total. That is a game ender right there. Your opponents are going to mill out most of their deck just by hitting someone with that. And that's what I like about Hope so much, is the fact that it says beginning your end step, each opponent mills X cards. Most mill decks struggle by just focusing on most mill cards. I mean, you're only milling one opponent at a time. It's hard to mill the entire board, and so Hope does a really good job of that, of targeting all of your opponents. So again, that Celestial Mantle, that is a powerhouse in this deck. Next, we have our crystal here. I believe it's the Wind Crystal. I do have the Japanese art version of it, but the English version should be on screen right here. So it's anytime you gain life, you're getting double that life, your white spells cost less, and you can get your creatures flying and vigilance. So this thing is doing a lot for 4 mana. Boon Reflection, 5 mana. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. So again, imagine having one of these in place with the Celestial Mantle. You hit someone, you gain 40 life, but if you have like the Boon Reflection in place, you gained 80 life on the turn. That's done. That's GG's for your opponents. That's milling out their entire decks. Alhammarit's Archive, 5 mana. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. Again, super powerful effect. And if you would draw a card, except for the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. Doubling your life, doubling your card draw. Great value there. Now, so that is our life gain portion of this. As far as working with the mill synergies, we have Hedron Crab for 1 mana, 0/2. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Cool. Landfall mill. Psychic Corrosion, 3 mana. It says whenever you draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. Cut your losses, 6 mana. Kind of expensive, but with the casualty too, this is really strong. So you can, when you cast a spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater and then copy it. Target player mills half their library rounded down. The Mind Skinner, this is a weird one. 3 mana for a 10/1, but it can't be blocked. And if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent, prevent that damage, and each opponent mills that many cards. Last, we have Fraying Sanity, 3 mana. Enchant player at the beginning of each end step, enchant player mills X cards for X the number of cards put into their graveyard from anywhere this turn. So if you have that on an opponent, you can trigger Hope's ability first at the beginning of the end step, and then that one, so they're milling twice as many cards on each of their turns. All right, so that is the main basis of the deck. As far as land goes, most of our lands are basic lands. We do have a few non-basic lands, though. If you want to see the full deck list, it is going to be in the description below. Check it out. Let me know in the comments if there's any tweaks you would make, any combos that you may include. That being said, we drop new videos every Friday. If you like deck builds like this, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell notification. We are constantly bringing you new videos like this, topics on Magic the Gathering as a format. And every Saturday, we're live streaming. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you guys next time.